The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. A quiet hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, is a small person. He is a hobbit. Hobbits are smaller than humans. They have hairy feet. They don't wear shoes. They live in comfortable holes in the ground. Bilbo's house is called Bag End. It has a round green door. There are many windows. The house has many rooms. There is a kitchen, a dining room, and bedrooms. Everything is clean and organized. Bilbo loves his quiet life. Every day is the same. He eats breakfast at 8 o'clock. He has 6 meals every day. He loves cake, tea, and good food from his garden. He has a beautiful garden with colorful flowers. He likes to sit under a tree and smoke his pipe. Sometimes he visits his hobbit friends. They talk about simple things. They don't talk about adventures or dangerous places. Bilbo's family is very respectable. His father was a Baggins. His mother was a Took. The Took family sometimes had adventures, but Bilbo doesn't want adventures. He thinks adventures are messy and uncomfortable. He likes his routine. He likes knowing what will happen every day. He doesn't like surprises. He doesn't want to leave his comfortable home. One normal day, Bilbo is smoking his pipe outside his house. He's thinking about his next meal. He doesn't know that his life is about to change completely. Part 2. The Wizard's Visit. One sunny morning, Bilbo was outside his house. He was enjoying the good weather. He was smoking his pipe. He saw an old man walking toward his house. The old man was very tall. He had a long gray beard. He wore a tall, pointed hat. He carried a long wooden staff. This was Gandalf the wizard. Gandalf stopped near Bilbo's fence. "Good morning," said Gandalf. "What do you mean?" asked Bilbo. "Do you mean the weather is good, or do you mean it's a good morning for me?" "Well, both," said Gandalf, smiling. Bilbo was a little nervous. He knew Gandalf. Gandalf made wonderful fireworks. But Gandalf also brought adventures to young hobbits. "I am looking for someone to share in an adventure," said Gandalf. Bilbo's eyes opened wide. "An adventure? No, thank you. We don't want any adventures here. Adventures are not comfortable. They make you late for dinner." Bilbo said goodbye quickly. He went inside his house. He thought that was the end. But later, Bilbo saw something strange. Gandalf made a mark on Bilbo's beautiful green door. He used his staff to make a secret sign. Bilbo didn't understand the mark. He didn't know what it meant. But this mark was very important. It would change Bilbo's life forever. That evening, Bilbo was cooking dinner. He heard a knock on his door. He opened it, and his big adventure began. Part 3. The Dwarves Arrive. That evening, Bilbo was in his kitchen. He was preparing a simple dinner. Suddenly, he heard a loud knock on his round green door. Who could that be? He thought. When he opened the door, a tall dwarf stood there. He had a blue beard and many weapons. This was Dwalin. He walked inside without waving. "Dwalin, at your service," he said and bowed. Bilbo was very surprised. Before he could speak, another knock came. Another dwarf arrived. This was Balin. He had a white beard and a friendly face. Soon, more and more dwarves came to Bilbo's door. They came in groups, 2, then 4, then 6. Finally, there were 13 dwarves in Bilbo's small house. The dwarves made themselves at home. They moved Bilbo's furniture. They started eating his food. They sang loud songs about gold and mountains. They threw plates and cups in the air. Bilbo's clean house became messy and noisy. Bilbo ran around nervously. "Please be careful with my plates," he said. But the dwarves didn't listen. They were very happy and excited. Then came the last knock. A very important dwarf arrived. This was Thorin Oakenshield. He was the leader. All the other dwarves stood up and became quiet. They respected Thorin very much. Thorin looked at Bilbo seriously. "So this is the Hobbit," he said. He didn't look very impressed. Bilbo was tired and confused. He counted all the dwarves. 13. Why are there so many dwarves in my house? He wondered. He didn't know this was just the beginning of his unexpected journey. Part 4. The Mission. After all the dwarves finished eating, the room became quiet. Thorin Oakenshield stood up. All the dwarves looked at him with respect. Thorin began to speak. He told a sad story about their home, the Lonely Mountain. It was once a beautiful kingdom under the mountain. The dwarves lived there happily. They had much gold and treasure. But one day, a terrible thing happened. A huge dragon came. His name was Smaug. Smaug was as big as a mountain. He could fly and breathe fire. He attacked the mountain. He destroyed everything. He took all the gold for himself. The dwarves lost their home and their treasure. Thorin's voice became angry. "Smaug stole our home. He sleeps on our gold in the Lonely Mountain." Then Gandalf stood up. He showed the dwarves an old map. It was a map of the Lonely Mountain. There was a secret door on the map. Gandalf also had a special key. It was large and made of silver. "We need to find this secret door," said Gandalf. "We need someone small and quiet to help us. We need a burglar." All the dwarves looked at Bilbo. Bilbo's face became white. "A burglar? But I'm not a burglar. I'm just a simple hobbit." The dwarves didn't look sure. Some thought Bilbo was too soft for this mission. But Gandalf said, "I have chosen Mr. Baggins, and that should be enough for all of you." That night, Bilbo couldn't sleep. He thought about the dragon and the adventure. He was very scared. But in the morning, something changed in his heart. When the dwarves left, he ran after them. He didn't even take a handkerchief with him. "I'm going on an adventure," he shouted. And so his big journey began. Part 5. The Adventure Begins. The company started their journey. They walked through green fields and dark forests. Bilbo was not prepared for this. He missed his comfortable home already. First problem, the trolls. One rainy night, they stopped in a dark forest. Bilbo saw a light in the distance. The dwarves sent him to investigate. Bilbo found 3 huge trolls, Bert, Tom, and William. They were cooking sheep over a fire and speaking in rough voices. Bilbo tried to pick one troll's pocket, but the troll caught him. The trolls argued about how to cook the hobbit. Then the dwarves came to rescue Bilbo, but the trolls caught them all. They put everyone in sacks. The trolls argued about cooking them. Gandalf returned and used his voice magic. He made the trolls argue with each other until the sun rose. When sunlight touched the trolls, they turned into stone. Gandalf saved everyone. Second stop, Rivendell. They continued to Rivendell, a beautiful city of the elves. The houses were built between waterfalls and trees. The elves were graceful and sang beautiful songs. Lord Elrond, their wise leader, welcomed them. He could read the moon letters on the dwarves' map, secret writing that only appeared in moonlight. The message said, "Stand by the gray stone when the thrush knocks, and the setting sun will show the keyhole." Third problem: the mountains. As they climbed the misty mountains, a terrible storm began. Giant stone creatures, the stone giants, emerged from the mountains and started throwing rocks at each other. The company was caught in the middle of their game. They had to jump between moving mountains to survive. Then things got worse. They found a cave to rest in, but it was a trap. The floor opened and they fell into the Goblin Kingdom, deep under the mountains. Part 6: Bilbo and the Magic Ring. When the floor opened in the cave, everyone fell down into the darkness. Bilbo hit his head and lost consciousness. When he woke up, he was alone in complete darkness. Bilbo started crawling through the dark tunnels. He put his hands on the ground to guide himself. Suddenly, his fingers touched something cold and metallic. It was a small golden ring. Without thinking much, he put it in his pocket. Soon, he reached an underground lake. There he met a strange creature named Gollum. Gollum had big, pale eyes and spoke to himself in a hissing voice. He lived alone in the dark and ate fish from the lake. When Gollum saw Bilbo, he became excited. "We wants to eat it, my precious," he said. Bilbo was very scared. He suggested they play a game of riddles. "If I win, you show me the way out. If you win, you can eat me," said Bilbo nervously. They took turns asking riddles. Gollum asked, "What has roots nobody sees, is taller than trees? Up, up it goes, and yet never grows." Bilbo thought and answered, "A mountain." Bilbo asked, 30 white horses on a red hill. First, they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. Gollum answered, "Teeth." Game continued until Bilbo couldn't think of another riddle. He put his hand in his pocket nervously and asked, "What have I got in my pocket?" This wasn't a proper riddle, and Gollum couldn't guess the answer. The ring. Gollum became very angry when he lost. He went to get his magic ring, but discovered it was missing. Realizing Bilbo had it, he started chasing him. Bilbo accidentally put the ring on his finger and became invisible. He could follow Gollum without being seen and found the way out. He jumped over Gollum and escaped to the sunlight, keeping the magic ring in his pocket. Art 7: The Great Eagles. While Bilbo was escaping from Gollum, the dwarves and Gandalf were in big trouble. The goblins had captured them and taken them to their ting. The Great Goblin was huge and very ugly. He was angry that the dwarves were in his kingdom. Just when things looked very bad, Gandalf used his magic. He made a bright flash of light that surprised all the goblins. In the darkness, he used his sword to cut the dwarves free. "Follow me," he shouted. They all ran through the dark tunnels, fighting goblins as they went. When they finally got outside, they were on a high cliff. But their problems weren't over. Wild wolves called wargs found them. These wolves were working with the goblins. Soon, goblins arrived on the wolves' backs. The company climbed tall trees to escape, but the goblins set the trees on fire. The fire grew bigger and bigger. Bilbo, who was just escaped from the tunnels, joined them in the trees. They were all trapped. Just when everything seemed hopeless, Bilbo looked up at the sky. "The eagles!" he shouted. Giant, beautiful birds were flying toward them. These were the great eagles, lords of the sky. They didn't like the goblins and wanted to help. The eagles flew down and picked up the company. Each eagle carried one dwarf. Gandalf rode on the largest eagle. Bilbo rode behind one of the eagles, holding on tightly. The eagles flew high above the mountains. Bilbo could see everything below. The trees looked like small plants, and the rivers looked like silver threads. It was scary, but wonderful. The eagles took them far away from the goblins and wolves. They landed safely on a tall rock called the Carrock. The company was safe for now. They thanked the eagles for saving their lives. Bilbo had never been so happy to be on solid ground again. But their journey was not over yet. Part 8, the end of the journey. After the eagles left them on the Carrock, the company felt both tired and hopeful. They stood on the high rock and looked at the world around them. Gandalf pointed into the distance. "Look there," he said. Far, far away, they could see a single mountain standing alone. It was the Lonely Mountain, their final destination. Bilbo had never seen anything so big and lonely. Smoke came from the top of the mountain. "Is that?" Bilbo started to ask. "Yes," said Thorin seriously. "That is Smaug." Thorin looked at Bilbo with new respect. "You are not the same hobbit who left Bag End," he said. Bilbo realized this was true. He had faced trolls, goblins, and Gollum. He had found a magic ring. He was braver than he thought. They climbed down from the Carrock. There were still many miles to travel. Forests, rivers, and dangerous lands stood between them and the mountain. But now they worked together like a true team. As they walked, Bilbo thought about the adventure ahead. He was still sometimes scared, but he was also excited. He had proven he could be helpful. The dwarves now saw him as a real member of their group, not just a burglar they didn't want.